Welcome back, everyone, to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we are a show that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aviation maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes to giving you that split seconds relief in your day that can prevent a mishap. I am your co-host 6. Our other two co-hosts, MVP and Shoreline, are here again in the back, silently monitoring our audio and making sure that our faces stay fit for radio. It's uncommon for us to have pilots, flight officers on the show. So today we are graced with two very special guests. These two women have been working hard and paving paths for the future women in aviation, and we're grateful to have them on the show. Our first guest is a former Army officer and Black Hawk pilot. She is a civilian rated on various helos and 5 types of fixed-winged aircraft. She is currently working on commercial aircraft add-ons, and she is the founder of Hover with Hargis, which is a program dedicated to not only welcoming more women into the aviation community, but to introduce them into rotary flight and offer scholarships to help women grow as pilots. Please welcome Mrs. Lexi Hargis. Thank you for coming, Lexi.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
And our second guest hails from El Paso, Texas. She is a second-generation Mexican-American pilot. She gained her love for aviation from her father, who is a veteran and commercial airline pilot. She is a certified flight instructor 2, or CFII, if I remember the acronym correctly, a corporate airline pilot, and the founder of Women with Wings, an organization made to support, encourage, and recognize women aviators, likewise offering them opportunities and resources to expand their talents and expertise as women aviators. We're very honored to have her on the show as well. Please welcome Mrs. Beth Ramirez. Thank you for coming, Beth.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me.
Once again, we're honored to have both of you on and for the work that you do for women and for aviation in general. Like I mentioned earlier, it's uncommon for us to have aviators and flight officers onto the show. However, we understand that it takes a community to keep aviation running. That includes pilots, flight attendants, flight officers, air crew, mechanics, and so forth. And essentially, that's what y'all do with your organizations, which is fostering this community and welcoming people in that want to be a part of aviation, kind of like sparking that fire to have them love aviation or reinvigorate that love for it.
Now, definitely.
And we understand that there's some maintenance communities or some small rings out there that have a little bit of abrasion towards pilots and air crew. I'm sure there's some friction amongst aviators regarding maintainers too. Just kind of throw it out there. But again, that they can have their friction. We all had our jokes and whatnot. But again, it takes a community to run it all. It takes a village to keep these planes healthy and flying safe. And likewise for all the people that do the work to make them fly and fly safe. So, jumping in real quick, for you two, whoever wants to answer first, what sparked your passion? What was your moment that made you fall in love with aviation?
Go for it, Lexi.
Actually, it was my grandpa. He was a 4-time Vietnam veteran, and he was a flight engineer and crew chief on several different airplanes in the Air Force. And so it was honestly him. And even though, he was, his view was from the back seat, I just loved hearing his story. And he was the one who really pushed me to not only just go into the Army, but be an officer and be a pilot. So I thought it was beautiful.
Awesome. How about you there, Beth?
Since my dad's been a pilot my whole life, I always saw it. And since he did it, like I said, my entire life, and I would talk to the other kids, and we would just be like, oh, what do your parents do? And I'd be like, oh, mine's piloting, and they would be like, that's so cool. And not that I didn't think it was cool, but it was just so normal to me at the time. Because, it was just always there. And it was always in the back of my head. I think I remember when I was 12, they had asked me oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a pilot. In high school, I kind of gave up on that dream just because I felt like I gave up on just kind of believing in myself, unfortunately. And it wasn't until college when my dad gave me like this good pep talk that just said, follow your dreams. I love what I do. And, and I was just like, I want that fulfillment in life. So honestly, it was the fulfillment that my dad feels in his career that made me want to go after it.
That's very inspiring, honestly, because I noticed this a lot for some individuals who it's been instilled in them from the very get-go. Then there's always that few, myself included, where like aviation wasn't like the first thought. It was just like, I want to do something with my hands. I want to go fast. I want to do something with a little bit of adrenaline attached to it. And then aviation just so happened to fill the gap at that one moment. And then the bug bites you. And all of a sudden, it's like amazing, right? I would point to like some of y'all's programs where you offer discovery flights, or you would give scholarships to have discovery flights. And you can see it in their faces when that bug bites them. Almost like you can tell like when it hits. I'm like, yeah, this person is gonna love this industry.
Definitely.
Or this is gonna be their new hobby, right? Now, for them with the discovery flights, and for people getting bit by the bug, when you started your first steps, okay, I'm day one showed up at the school, or day one showed up and being around planes, like you're actually going to step foot and put hands on this plane. What was your initial thoughts when that happened?
Lexi.
You want to go?
And we'll just go in that order.
Well, so my first flight in a helicopter was when I was at Rutgers, and it was, for Army Flight School. So I didn't have like the leisure of like what a discovery flight, someone who would have a discovery flight would. So, because the Army, you're on their time, so you're on their time and their dime. So I couldn't really like soak it in too much. If anything, it was very intimidating. And our instructors, they're not like drill instructors, but they're kind of aggressive. So it was very intimidating when I first had I would call it a nickel flight in the L206. That day I came home, and I was honestly so overwhelmed. I didn't know if I was going to I didn't know if it was going to be something I was going to be capable of, but it was just the initial shock. It's flying a helicopter, you're using every single limb for a different movement of every kind. And so to kind of get thrown into the fire was a little overwhelming at first. But, after that first week of flying, I was like, things start to calm down, like natural, and you get into the swing of it, and you're like, okay, all right, I can breathe, I'm doing good. And then by the end of that first phase, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going in. I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Nice. How about yourself, Beth?
I actually thought it was interesting. I was telling my dad about this, how I actually didn't do a discovery flight until I had fully changed majors, gotten the loan, moved to do all the flight training. And then when I was there, I did a discovery flight, just assuming I would love it. And what's cool is that I was right. I remember that first flight, I actually felt sick because I didn't eat before. But I still enjoyed it. Like something about taking off and flying and landing. It's like I said, it goes back to that initial like accomplishment that gives you that happy serum for your brain that I've just become addicted to.
Right. And that was more or less the feeling for myself from the mechanic side of the house. It wasn't like, oh, I'm putting wrenches to parts. I mean, that fulfillment kind of happens when you're working on cars or quads or anything like that. But what sold it for me, besides the view of being in a plane, was actually seeing it take off because I had something to do with it. And I'm sure the same thing is for yourselves as aviators, when you're the one who pulls up on the stick when it's rolling down the runway, or pulling up on collective when it's ready to get going. I'm like, oh, I'm in the air now. What do I do?
Oh, also, I took sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, that's actually like the biggest, in my opinion, one of the biggest pros of aviation is that for as much as it is challenging and as much work and studying you put into it, you absolutely get the equal amount of reward.
Definitely.
You were saying, Beth?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I flew in a helicopter once, and it's pretty crazy. You are not chilling or hanging out at any point. You are on it.
Oh no.
So that was really cool and really different. I've taken 2 flights on, and one they were teaching me. I was like, it's similar in a ways where I kind of understand the gauges, but in flying, it's totally different.
Oh, most definitely. Now, as far as us, like we've done some flights too, where we would be the co-pilots or we would be some kind of flight engineer, and we would take control of the stick. And at first, it just feels like this is really weird. It kind of feels like being in a pull chair, like it's just rocking back and forth. Like okay, and then you realize like all the forces you have to keep in track of. So it was a little daunting, but I totally understand. Now,
Crazy.
Since you mentioned like some of the good parts or some of the choke points, say about coming into aviation. Now, what was it like for you having to come into a field that was very male dominated? And did any of that give you any reluctance when you did step foot into it?
I can do this one. First, what was I gonna say? You know what? I actually had trouble answering that question like at the beginning because fortunately, at least like on the general aviation side of it, and everyone I've met, like especially all the guys have been nothing but extremely supportive, and they always just treated me as just another student that they would ask questions to, want to study with. So for the longest time, I didn't feel like I was any different. And at the same time, I think maybe that's part of my personality, or like I'm that I try to ignore if there's something negative, like it kind of goes over my head. I would say it wasn't till I started trying to get a job that things got a little bit harder, because when you feel like somebody is interested in you and they're above you, it makes it awkward because you don't know how to react. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Right. Yes.
You don't want to put your job in like jeopardy, and you don't want people to hate you, but you also don't want that relationship to go anywhere. So that has been my personal issue with being a woman in aviation. I feel like I've have a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of support. Like my friend, like I'm gonna tell him to hear. I'm gonna shout him out. Well, one of my friends, he's the one who got me a job at a CFI. So he's been super supportive. I could like call him my mentor. And then he also got me a job at where I work now because he believes that I was like a great pilot. So like I said, nothing but support. But there are those situations where it's just harder, and I do believe that that's more of a woman not issue, but just something we have to go through. I don't know the word for it.
Gotcha. Like a challenge, right? It's like one of those challenging stigmas you have to overcome.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll add to that because I think you hit on something that's important. When I was in flight school and I was with all of my peers, mind you, I've always been the only woman in my class or section or unit or what have you. So I've only known it to be in a very male dominated environment. But when I was with my peers, I'd never had any issues. I'd always been welcomed with so much support and with encouragement and looked at, as equal. It wasn't until I got to my unit and it would be like the older men or people who had some authority and people who were like my supervisors or like were above me in the echelon, it wasn't until I kind of had issues until then. And the issues I would tell any woman is like more often than not, they have nothing to do with your skill set, your talent, your work ethic. It has nothing to do with you as a pilot or whatever position you're in. It's just a problem that you inherit strictly because you're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes. And I was on a I was a guest on a podcast a couple weeks ago. It was the Jet Fuel and Roses show, and they asked me that question, like, have you ever seen any women mechanics in your areas or in your shops? And I said yes, probably more so than you might have seen. And I would say like the issue with them is regarding performance isn't so much their skill set, is more so like they've already have to overcome so much just to show what they can do. And a lot of it is just from the environment they're in. And some individuals, regardless of your age, race, or gender, if you're having a finger stuck in your face time and time again and being judged for every little thing you do and what you refuse to do because of some healthy boundaries that you drew for yourself or whatnot, it's gonna cause abrasions to some people. It's going to create challenges for some individuals, and someone will see that as a means to just kind of stuff you into a certain box. And eventually, if you're stuck in a cage so long, you're gonna shut down and just not want to comply or do whatever it takes to actually be the best you can be, just because it's already demeaning regardless of what you do. And that's when you will find some good individuals just not do it no more.
Just got to focus on the good ones, because like I said, and Lexi said too, that we have so many support, and there's a lot of guys that we work with that are nothing but great and have nothing but good things to say about like 90 to 95% of the guys in aviation, but there are the 5% that make it uncomfortable.
Yes, very much so.
And it really is. It's usually the 5% that have like a lot of
Yes.
influence and authority. So it's intimidating because of just not only them being your boss or your supervisor, your commander, or whatever. But it's also like the person who can destroy your blackball you, blacklist you, whatever.
Yep.
Like someone who has a great influence and impact on them.
Yep.
Absolutely correct on all that. You guys say it so much better than I ever could. maybe it's perspective. Maybe it's perspective. So
it probably is.
Now, for people who want to become pilots, what are some of the biggest challenges you think that they encounter when they say, I want to be a pilot? What do I do?
Go for it, Lexi.
Well, first and foremost, finances. I think finances is the biggest. I know people say, oh, you can take out student loans, but honestly, it's hard to get somebody to take out student loans in general, but like not only that, you're asking them to take out 6-figure student loans. So that's intimidating. And I think honestly, this is what I hate about aviation, is that there's actually a really good community, but when you look at the job and people fill most of the positions, you don't get that sense of community. Like there's just a lot of lack of representation at all times, you know. So I would say that could be a factor too.
Very much so. I think you hit it really good on that one. Go ahead, Beth.
Oh yeah. I was just going to say that the first thing I definitely was going to say was the financing, money. Whenever I have friends who see me and message me like, oh, how do I become a pilot? And I'm like, first things first, get a discovery flight, because if you love it, you won't, you'll be able to overcome every challenge that comes, but you have to love it, because not only is it going to cost you a good amount of money, it does take a lot of hard work, and you really have to, especially if you're someone maybe who didn't like school and wants to try something else, which was me. I understand. I actually was going part-time, kind of trying to figure out my life for 2 years. And then I went into 16 credits. So it was a complete change. I had to study for hours. So if they're anything like me, you do have to have that mindset change also, which can be hard.
Very much so, yes. Now, when you guys were starting your organizations, Hover with Hargis and Women with Wings, what was the deciding factor for y'all to kick that off?
You go first.
Okay. So one thing I do, one of my main hobbies is I compete in pageants. I've been competing since I started college also. Honestly, I feel like I really found myself in college. I'm like everything I am now, starting at 19. And one of the things you have to have is a platform, something you stand for. And in high school, it's not ever something I thought about was having a platform, going out and doing community service. It's not till I got to college and became a part of this hobby that I had to think about it. And I joined aviation and I saw that there just wasn't many of us. And at first, like I said, we connected like we did, but in 2020, when everyone was home for months, and it was honestly, I thought I was going crazy. I had to go for walks for like 3 hours straight. That's when I created Women with Wings as a way of connecting women in aviation through the pandemic. So it was already a lack of connection in the world overall in that year. And I'm like, why don't I take this opportunity to create my platform in the time where I believe it's most needed?
I'm silent, but I'm nodding my head, like all smiling, like you can actually see
me. Good.
I agree. Like the pandemic kind of helped me introduce Hover with Hargis. I always kind of had the idea to do scholarships and to give back, because I think that's just how I was raised. Is like, you always plan to pay it forward, and you always start by doing that within the community that you're a part of. And so, for me, it was important to start in aviation because that's the community I'm in. And because my experience has been very limited with just being around other women pilots, and it's actually Beth's organization that helped me meet other women pilots. But because I've never really been around other ones, I wanted to facilitate a program that would reflect the community that I kind of seek. And so that was what was my main goal coming from it.
That's very inspiring too. And it does help, right? When you have like-minded people with like-minded goals who are willing to raise other ships, so to say. There's been many communities that we've been a part of where it was more like a lion pride than it was a community. And what I mean by that is like there's always one dominant figure and you pretty much just have to abide by whatever they say. And there's like this unspoken pecking order that has to happen. And the only way for you to step up is to push them out, or to kind of either push them out or find another ring where you can be the dominant one and just submit everyone to your will, so to speak. And that's kind of been, and that might be more pertinent what I've seen with maintenance rings. I haven't seen too much of pilots, but I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. Now, I've noticed with communities, especially, like when you're trying to start something new or something that no one's ever seen before, it's very hard to find that buy-in from people. Like, hey, we're starting this community, this thing for women, this part for aviation. How have you been able to get people to understand what it is and actually want to participate?
I'll go.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I try to focus on like the feminine part of aviation. I'm really girly. So when I make my page feminine, like putting Miss Women with Wings, creating like clubs like for women and putting really, girly posts, that's how I try to make myself different from other women in aviation organization. It's just really diving into just the girliness of it, because I know I like it, and I'm just kind of finding my group of people who do. And honestly, I think it's done really well. I think a lot of girls do like that. Girls and women do enjoy that aesthetic to Women with Wings.
I agree. I agree. Lexi, you were going?
I think Beth does a really good job of that, because I am a very, like, I am a girly woman, but at the same time, I'm a little, I'm a little country bumpkin, so I'm a little rough around the edges. And I come from, like, being a veteran, so, where language is pretty rude and crude and vulgar. So dark sense of humor and all that.
Love that.
So it's interesting because her and I, we bring a lot of different, like, contrasting aesthetics a little bit, but it works really well. And I don't necessarily think that there's just one specific aesthetic that I stick to as far as bringing women in. I think that when I started getting donations for scholarships, it was just purely from people who knew me and supported me and loved me. They had a lot of the people had nothing to do with aviation. And so a lot of the buy-in just came from already having that support system. And then in 2022, when I, used these people's money that they trusted me with and showed them, like, hey, I gave 5 scholarships away. This is what your money did. That, like, elevated the buy-in. You know what I mean? Like, that was where people were like, oh, look what our money is doing. Like, this is where it's going. So I think a lot of that is just being really transparent and forthcoming,
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I think that's one of the key things to having people want to participate or be involved with is where they see value in what they're doing, right? This is not just for organizations, but just for any type of thing that they want to be a part of, right? Like, if I'm going to show up, if I'm going to put in work, if I'm going to pour blood, sweat, and tears into this, what's the value? What's the, for lack of a better word, what's the whiffum? What's in it for me? Right. And if the what's in it for me is helping someone raise up and have opportunities or helping yourself develop some opportunities, that right there's a win. And I'm going to polish your egos here a little bit. You guys are doing this so well. And especially with your 2 organizations, both offering scholarships and giving women opportunities to showcase that side of themselves that they may have been neglecting for some time, especially in a very constricting environment such as aviation, right? It's you're all dressed the same, you all look the same, you're being interpreted the same, especially if you're in the military. There's like one standard only, and it's one color, one size fits all kind of thing. And then you say, hey, look, there's other avenues that you can do. Oh, is there?
Yeah.
And
well, thank you.
It's we should be thanking you. Honestly, that's that's us thanking you. Like, thank you for what you do. And I'm speaking for pretty much everybody. Forgive me, everyone out there that's listening to this. I'm speaking for you, but to be offered something like that, to have some kind of opportunity, is uncommon, and finding those it's not very well advertised or put or distributed, if that's a better way of saying that. Like, it's like, especially with scholarships, you can Google search scholarships galore, but most of the stuff that pops up is like the same 3 or 4 bodies that do it, and that's kind of discouraging for a lot of people right off the get-go. Like, okay, this is a scholarship for this, or this is an opportunity for that. And then they see the organization title and like, yeah, I'm not going to get it, right? They readily defeat themselves when they do that. So with the opportunities that you both put out, it's like, here's my shot, right? And I think that's what a lot of us really want, is just to have a shot and demonstrate what we can do, and just have that community, like we were saying, to foster that. Because if you're just doing this on your own and you have to teach yourself how to navigate through stuff you've never done before, in most cases, unless this person is extremely stubborn, they're just not going to do it. Or if they're stubborn, they're headstrong, but you get berated enough, you're just not going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of hit it up too. Like, there are some powerhouse organizations out there for women, and they do a lot of incredible stuff. They give out probably $50,000 worth of scholarships every year. But some of the caveat to that is that you have to be a member. You have to pay your membership fee, and there again, you are automatically kind of like what you said. Like, it can be a little discouraging because they're so big that it's almost like, oh man, like
Feels
you feel like a little
impossible.
fish in the ocean type of thing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And now, with the projects you guys have done already, what sort of stuff do you have oncoming for the future?
Ooh, we have a big one.
You want to go ahead and talk about it?
Yeah. So me and Lexi are actually collaborating on a gala, a Women in Aviation gala. So it's a Women with Wing and Hover with Hargis, Women in Aviation gala, which will be technically in New Mexico. There is a air war museum. And it's like really nice. We're going to be giving out multiple, not only scholarships, but awards. And going back to kind of what I said about being girly and cute, it's like one thing that's going to be different is that we're going to give them a sash and crown. So I'm really excited about that because I think I've already seen people get really excited and be like, oh, I'm interested in this. So it makes it a little different. We're trying to like just make ourselves stand out. We're already selling tickets. We're already figuring out what it's going to take for somebody to get these scholarships and awards. And if you want to add on to that.
Well, and we kind of were like, okay, how can we set ourselves apart from like just any other aviation banquet, or event? And the good thing that Beth, like one of the good things Beth brings to the table is like, her girliness and her pageantry. So when we incorporated the awards to do like kind of like a crowning moment, I thought that would be really, it won't have the intensity or maybe the fearfulness of a pageant. It'll be a little bit more relaxed, I guess, in that atmosphere, but it'll be nice to give recognition to some women, for example, you have the Miss Mother Aviatrix. Like, even though that's not a scholarship, there's a lot of women who've applied to scholarships, my personal scholarship, and their mothers, they all have like 5 children and, still going to flight school every day. And like, that is just mind boggling to me because I know that's hard. Like it's hard just being a flight student, then being a mother on top of it. Like, I know men can be fathers and pilots too, but it really is different for the mother and their just natural inherited responsibility. Because what's understood doesn't need to be explained, but things to that nature. I think that our event will be really unique in a lot of ways like that.
That sounds really awesome, and we actually look forward to seeing that happen. And hopefully this sparks more of it to happen, because your gala, I'm going to be completely honest, is probably one of the firsts that I have heard of, and I'm sure there's more. There probably is more, but yours is the ones that really address the underdog, if that makes any sort of sense, right? Like, I don't, like you mentioned before, I don't have to pay into it to be like, I don't have to be a member. I don't have to be established. I just have to be who I am. And
exactly,
and participate, which I think is like the best, to be honest. Like I'm getting nothing out of it except to brag about you. Fair enough. So, for your organizations, for your gala and so forth, and your future opportunities, how can someone get involved and where can they find you?
Right now, I'm kind of establishing my ambassador program, and it's really just a group of women that are just being connected. So we have a group, we have monthly meetings, and once I can really establish what we're going to do each month, how many members we have right now, I'm actually going to open up. So I will be posting about it pretty soon. And then that's when more people, because I've been getting a lot of message saying, how do I get involved? And being a corporate pilot, having, all my, hobbies, being married and everything else, in my life, it's been hard to juggle everything. So that's why I kind of had to put that on pause and be like, I want you all to be involved. Give me a few more days. Let me kind of really handle things, and I will open it up to everyone.
That sounds good. How about yourself, Lexi?
I would just say, honestly, the easiest way is just through Instagram and following and just keeping up with what scholarships we'll have available and what projects are available. Because my program, it really is just for scholarships and opportunities. And I, for me, because it's just me, myself, and I, it's very easy to manage it. And because it's through social media, it's very easy to attain and reach out, and I can, get a target audience from anywhere and everywhere. So, I mean, I've had women from other countries message me and ask if they could get, discovery flights. So, I would just say Instagram is the best way. And, I'm always going to keep doing this, so there will always be opportunities.
Awesome. And what's the Instagram tag that everyone can find you for?
So you can use the official one now because it's a little baby. It's growing, but it's yeah. It's at Hover with Hargis, and Hargis is just my last name. And then you can also follow my personal one if you want. It's Lexi Hargis, or it's just LEHEXSEE. And I do post a lot of aviation stuff on my personal one because I'm still trying to kind of transition that information to the official account now. So either one, honestly, you will be in the known.
Gotcha. And how about Miss Women with Wings?
At Women with Wings _. I also have my aviation one, which is at Aviation Beth. And then if you want to follow the title holder, I have at Miss Women with Wings. And all of these, the personal one, the Aviation Beth, that one just kind of has like what I'm doing involving in aviation. Women with Wings will be all those posts of encouragement, of any scholarships, awards, anything coming up. And then Miss Women with Wings is kind of also trying to post what I post on Women with Wings. So those are 3 accounts that I would recommend anyone following.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And again, thank you both. You've been very inspirational with all that you do and all for the future lives that you're about to interact with and possibly offer opportunities to. Is there any final advice, some sage wisdom that you want to impart to somebody that you may have not received or received too late to act upon?
Honestly, this is like one of those cliches, but the only thing to fear, is fear itself. Like go after it. That's how you make opportunity. And sometimes we hold ourselves back because we're scared of what could happen. If you do it, you know what's going to go wrong and you keep moving forward. Of course, when flying the plane, make sure you look at everything. So that's different, but I mean in life, just go after it.
Got it.
So
yes, absolutely. It's never too late. I have flown with, brand new pilots who were in their 60s, and I've also flown with a double amputee. So I would tell you that those people out there, they're out there, they exist. And so don't let anything like that ever keep you away from the flight line.
Very sage advice, both of you. And again, to double tap everything, it's never too late. Just go after it. No matter where you are in life, if you really want it, really go after it. And thank you both so much again for coming with us. We will definitely want to have you on again and talk some extra stuff. And
definitely.
And for all of you out there, again, those listening, there's opportunities out there. There's scholarships out there. There's ways to help you accomplish what you want. It's just how much do you want it and how willing are you want to look to find it. Here's 2 resources right here. There's a whole lot more out there. It's just a matter of how much you want it and how much you're willing to do for it. But hey, tell us what you think. Like, is there something that you've been wanting to do and just were afraid of it? Is there something that was holding you back? Is there some other resources and advice you would want to hand out to not just pilots, but mechanics and anyone and everyone within the aviation community? Hey, let us know on our social medias, our website, emails, whichever is the easiest way for you to get a hold of us, Lexi or Beth. On that note, thank you all once again, and we'll see you all again on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com, and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.